just watch Galway beat Wexford 127 to 17 points here at Croke Park. Bit of an annihilation, really, and maybe showed up some of the limitations that Davy Fitzgerald has, both in maybe how he sets his team up and how they play, but certainly maybe to some degree in some of the playing personnel he has, because you hear that whole thing about you'd rather have a good big player than a good small player. And I think at times the size profile of a few of the Wexford players lets them down in terms of breaking tackles, one-on-ones, that sort of stuff. I mean, if you look at that Galway forward line, there's a lot of players there who can beat their men. And I know Brian Cannon is a small guy, but he's a little bolt of lightning. And Joe O'Connor had to rugby tackle him a couple of times, and that's something we saw in the game from both sides. There was a nice bit of rugby tackling going on in there, a bit of cynicism. Other players were able to take on their man, like Conor Whelan. Is he the strongest player in hurling? I mean, he can't be too far off it. Lee Ginn on the other side, of course, is right up there too. But another powerful performance by Conor Whelan. He's one of the best players in the game. I don't think that's up there, if there's any doubt about that at all. Brian Cannon really has stepped up this year, and hard to see how he won't be in all-star contention if Galway keep going the way they are. And we haven't seen Tipperary and Limerick play yet. We don't know what level they're truly at. I mean, Limerick have already played one game against Clare and put up 36 points, so that's a fair start. But Galway have to be right there as All-Ireland contenders at this stage. And anyone who didn't think they were just by virtue of getting knocked out at the Leinster Championship last year, I think that was a little bit naive. It's just look at the players they have, look at the size profile, the whole way down through the team. The way it lined out, Fintan Burke ended up with wing back, and what a performance he gave in the air. I mean, he has some hand in him. And actually, this feeds into the point of having big players in that Galway team. So many lads who've got great hands on them. Like Shane Cooney got a brilliant catch. We saw him do that with St. Thomas's earlier in the year and all last season. Pádraig Mannion can catch a ball. Gerard McInerney. Joe Canning caught some great puckouts in the second half. And Conor Whelan obviously has a brilliant hand on him as well. So there's an awful lot of lads in there who just, in a one-on-one situation, they were testing out Wexford, they were putting them under pressure. And there was a run there in the first half. After 22 minutes, Paul Morris had levelled it at 8 points apiece, and you were thinking, okay, this game will be an arm wrestle all the way home. But then it was a run of, I think it was then 112 to 8 points. So it was a run of 1-4 to nothing for Galway that more or less broke the game open for them. So Conor Whelan with a point, Joe Canning with a free. He actually went for a goal with a free just before the half-hour mark, and I thought it was unusual. He went for it out. Now, it was saved out for a 65 and tapped that over, so all well at end well. And then the goal came, and I think Mark Fanning will be very disappointed with getting caught under it, because really and truly, that situation, the backs, he should be just saying, let the ball through to me. I mean, it's easy me saying it here and I'm looking down at it. They're the ones that are under pressure in there in the thick of it. But really and truly, especially now when there's no crowds around, you can shout at your full back, let the ball through, which everyone knows means just spoil your man, wrap up his arms and sort of play Maria, didn't do a thing, but that's what you need to do. Then before half time, Wexford missed their chances. Matthew Hanlon, who was following Joe Canning, and we've seen him do it for several seasons now, that's always the matchup. He got himself really far up the field inside the 14, and he had a shot one-on-one against Ian Murphy, who saved really, really well. But realistically, that needs to be finished. And if that gets nailed into the back of the net, then that's a different game, because rather than 6-point deficit at half time, you're probably having it back to 3 now. Obviously, Chin knocked down a point after that as well. Second half then, and they did bring it back to 5 with a Chin free, but after that, you see Paddy Foley getting hooked, and there was actually a few things like that. Nolan got hooked as well for another score. I'm trying to think, someone else was blocked down. Conor MacDonald was blocked down. A few dropped short into the keeper. And as the game went on, just Galway looked more and more comfortable. And you see Flynn scoring, Conor Whelan scoring from play, Johnny Cohen, Concannon, Cathal Mannion, Pádraig Mannion. So the point being that so many of their players were getting involved and scoring, whereas the Wexford players, it just wasn't happening for them. And it could be a case that maybe this is the first day out for them. Maybe they're not ready to, they weren't firing on all cylinders today. But, I mean, maybe they're not quite at that top one level, because, there's a fair difference between Conor Whelan as your inside forward threat and Concannon around him than what teams that aren't at the very top level are. This is where you have an Aaron Gallan up there, Seamus Callan over the last few years, and obviously TJ Reid and Colin Fennelly, maybe not so much today, but you get the sort of point. So Galway, All-Ireland contenders without doubt, and they won't be too far away, they rarely are. So that's it from Croke Park this evening. Galway 127, Wexford 17 points. Let me know your thoughts.